Ladies and gentlemen, there are a lot of complicated things in life, but this is simple. Just take 30 minutes a day. Not to scroll, not to reply, not to chase the next big thing, just 30 minutes for you, that's it, because here's what no one tells you. Your life is not going to change in one loud, dramatic moment. It's going to shift quietly in the moments when no one is watching, when you decide, even in your mess, that you'll still show up for yourself. You want change, stop waiting for the earthquake. Real transformation is not some Netflix drama. It does not come in one loud bang with theme music and applause. It shows up like this: 30 quiet minutes a day where you stop lying to yourself. That is it. Every day you either feed your future or feed your excuses. And most people spend years choosing the latter, and then blame the world for why they stayed stuck. But here is the real truth. Your life isn't stuck. You are just avoiding the tiny, boring, daily effort it takes to get unstuck. You do not need to conquer the whole mountain today. You just need to lace up your shoes and walk for 30 minutes. And those 30 minutes, they are not for productivity. This is not hustle time. This is healing time. Sit in silence and actually feel your emotions instead of running from them. Journal the clutter out of your head so you stop carrying it like a backpack. Move your body even when it feels heavy. Stretch, breathe, listen to music that makes you feel something. Or maybe just sit still and remember what peace sounds like. These aren't big, heroic things. They are small, honest ones. But they build something inside you. Every time you show up for yourself when no one else is watching, your inner trust grows. And that matters more than any goal sheet ever will. Here's what they will not tell you. It is easy to love yourself when everything is going well. It is easy to feel proud when the numbers are up, the followers increase, the compliments roll in, but the real test? The real love, that happens when you still give yourself 30 minutes on the day. You feel like trash. When you're overwhelmed, when you're numb, when you want to give up, that's when showing up counts. Not when it's convenient, but when it's necessary. Growth is not built on your highs. It is built on your discipline during the lows. And you do not have to get it perfect. Stop obsessing about what to do during those 30 minutes. There's no formula here. What works for me might not work for you. Some days you might cry. Some days you'll smile. Some days you'll just breathe and that'll be enough. The point is, you came, you showed up, you remembered that you exist outside your to-do list and deadlines. And over time, those 30 minutes will turn into your strongest habit. They'll become your anchor, your detox, your rebellion against everything trying to steal your sanity. So if you're asking, will this really change my life? The answer is yes, but not overnight. Not dramatically, not like magic, more like cleaning a dusty window, bit by bit, until one day the light actually gets through. And you see clearly, you see you, the version of you who is not constantly rushing, not constantly comparing, not constantly apologizing for needing a moment to rest. You see the version of you that has been buried under obligations, expectations, and noise, and that version. It starts rising quietly, daily, 30 minutes at a time. You have been told that taking time for yourself is selfish, that focusing on your own peace means you are ignoring responsibilities, that resting is laziness, that slowing down is weakness, so you believe them, you push through the burnout. You answer one more message, you check one more thing off the list, and all the while you are slowly disappearing from your own life. You are present in the noise, but absent in your soul. But here is the truth they never taught you. Taking 30 minutes a day for yourself is not selfish. It is the most respectful thing you can do. It says, I matter, I exist, I am not just a machine built to perform. It tells the world that your worth is not measured by your output, but by your presence. You are allowed to be tired. You are allowed to pause. You are allowed to need space. These are not flaws. These are signs that you are human, but somewhere along the way we confused constant activity with importance. We wear exhaustion like a badge of honor. We compete over who is the most burnt out, who slept the least, who never takes a break. And in this race to prove we are worthy, we forget to be well. We forget that our bodies are not designed to be in permanent overdrive, that our minds need silence, that our hearts need checking in. Giving yourself 30 minutes is not a detour. It is the path back to balance, and I know you think everyone else comes first. Your family, your job, your deadlines, your expectations. But what happens when you're running on empty and there is no time left for you? You start snapping, you stop listening, you rush through conversations, you fake your smiles. That is not love. That is survival, and love cannot grow in survival mode. When you take care of yourself first, you do not become less generous, you become more. You are able to give with a full cup, not a broken one. You show up with energy, not resentment. You become someone who is present, not just physically there, but emotionally alive. This is not about luxury. This is about necessity. You are not asking for a vacation. You are asking for a few sacred minutes in your day to feel human again. To return to your center, to check if your thoughts still align with your values. To ask yourself, am I okay? And actually wait for the answer. In a world that keeps shouting, taking 30 quiet minutes is an act of rebellion. It is how you protect your spirit in a time when everyone else is losing theirs. People will not always understand. They will call you distant, lazy, overly sensitive, but that is because they do not see the war inside your head. They do not hear the noise you carry. They do not feel the weight of your unspoken emotions. Only you know what those 30 minutes mean. Only you know how many times they kept you from falling apart. So let them judge. Let them misunderstand. You are not here to impress people who do not know your story. You are here to heal. You are here to grow. And you are allowed to do it slowly, quietly, consistently, without guilt, because taking time for yourself is not taking time from others. It is giving the best version of yourself to them. And no one else can do that for you. Only you can choose to stop, breathe, reset. Only you can look at your own reflection and say, you matter enough to be cared for, not later. Not when it is convenient, but now, every day, 30 minutes, not for productivity, not for performance, but for peace, for self-respect, for the quiet knowing that you are worth the time. People love to say they are too busy. It has become a modern way of saying, I am important. But busyness is not always a sign of purpose. Sometimes it is just distraction wearing a mask. You check your phone 50 times, scroll endlessly, switch between apps and tasks until your brain forgets how to be still. You are not too busy. You are too distracted. And those distractions are not just killing your time. They are stealing your clarity. You think you need more hours in the day, but what you really need is more awareness of how you are spending the hours you already have. There is always a moment to pause. There is always a small window even in the busiest day where you could breathe, reflect, disconnect. But instead you fill it. You fill it with more input, more noise, more running around in circles. You tell yourself you will rest later. You will think later. You will take care of yourself later, and later never comes, because you are not managing your life. You are letting your distractions manage you. You are letting urgency steal priority. You are letting everything around you dictate your pace and your peace. Try sitting still for 30 minutes with no noise. No screen, no plan, just you. It sounds easy, but it is one of the hardest things you will ever do in a world addicted to speed. Suddenly, you will feel discomfort. Your hands will twitch to grab your phone. Your brain will beg for something to click. That discomfort is not boredom. It is detox. It is your mind remembering that silence exists, that presence is possible. That thinking, deep thinking, takes time and stillness. And when you reclaim those 30 minutes, you reclaim your attention. And once you reclaim your attention, You reclaim your power. You do not need more apps to manage your time. You need to remove the distractions that make you believe you have no time. You do not need to become a productivity machine. You need to become someone who values depth over speed. That takes unlearning. That takes awareness. Every time you choose to do something for yourself, read a book, take a walk, stretch your body, write your thoughts, you are interrupting the loop of constant noise. You are choosing to invest your time, not just spend it, and that difference will show up, not in your to-do list, but in your peace. There will always be notifications, always new content, always something urgent, but there will not always be you, not the real you. Not the version of you that can sit alone and feel whole, not the version of you that thinks deeply, that listens inward, that remembers who they are outside of the world's noise. That version needs care, it needs space, and it needs time, not a lot, just 30 quiet, intentional minutes a day. But to give that time, you must first stop lying to yourself that you have none. You do, you just spend it in places that give you nothing back. Look at your screen time. Look at how often you reach for distraction when you feel stress. That is not a flaw. That is a signal that you are craving escape, not because you are lazy, but because you are overloaded. And the solution is not to run faster. It is to slow down, not to do more, but to do what matters. 30 minutes may not seem like much, but it is enough to build awareness. Enough to shift your focus back to your own voice. And when you do that daily, those distractions begin to lose their grip. Not because they disappear, but because you finally remember what it feels like to be present, to choose stillness over scrolling, to give your own life the attention it has been begging for. Healing is not something that just happens one day when the world suddenly becomes kind. It is not a vacation or a holiday. It is a decision, a daily one, and it begins when you make space for yourself not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Healing starts the moment you stop rushing past your own pain. The moment you say, I will sit with this. I will not ignore myself today. 30 minutes might sound small, but it is more than enough to begin. It is in that space where you slow down and hear what your heart has been whispering while you were busy surviving. You do not need to have it all figured out to begin healing. You do not need closure from others or perfect answers or a complete roadmap. What you need is space. Just a little bit of room in your day to listen to your thoughts without judgment, to breathe without pressure, to cry without shame, and maybe nothing dramatic happens in those 30 minutes. Maybe you just sit with your pain, maybe you say nothing, but even that is healing, because for once you are not running from yourself. We are taught to stay strong, to keep moving, to smile even when we are breaking, but strength is not pretending to be fine. Strength is allowing yourself to feel. It is letting the weight hit you, so you can eventually put it down. And that can only happen when you pause, when you stop numbing yourself with noise. That is why these 30 minutes matter. Because when you do not make time to feel, you eventually break in ways that are harder to fix. You lash out. You shut down. You begin to live in survival mode, thinking that is all there is. But healing is not survival. It is slow restoration. It is noticing that you are breathing a little deeper today, that your mind feels less cluttered, that the anger does not burn quite as much. These changes are small and easy to overlook, but they add up. They build a foundation under you, and that foundation is made in the quiet moments you give yourself. Not the loud ones, not the social media posts or the break-through conversations. Just the silent, personal moments where you say, this matters. I matter. There is no one way to heal. What works for one person might not work for another, but the one constant is this: you need space. You need a sacred pause in your day where you are allowed to just be, No expectations, no performance. No pretending. Whether you write, pray, move, sit, or simply stare at the ceiling and let yourself breathe, it is valid. It is real, and it is doing something for you, even if it does not feel like it right away. You cannot pour healing into your life if there is no room for it to land. You have to open the door, and that door is 30 minutes wide, not because time is magical, but because intention is. Because when you carve out time for yourself, you are telling your pain that it is no longer being ignored. You are telling your inner self, I am listening now. That simple act of listening, of showing up, of not brushing past what hurt, is where the real work begins. Healing is not about fixing everything in one go. It is about creating enough stillness to hear what needs attention, and giving that attention daily until the sharpness softens and the weight lifts a little more each time. You do not need to rush this process. You do not need to explain it to anyone. You just need to begin where you are and give yourself 30 minutes of truth. 30 minutes might seem small, almost too small to matter, but that is only because we have been trained to believe that transformation has to look grand. We think it needs a massive shift, a new environment, a total life overhaul, but the real lasting change, begins in small, quiet steps that you choose to repeat. 30 minutes a day is enough. It is enough to pause the chaos, enough to begin a habit, enough to hear your own thoughts again. It is not the size of the step that matters. It is the fact that you took it and then chose to take it again the next day. We underestimate what consistency can do because we are addicted to instant results. If something does not change everything in 1 week, we declare it a failure. But you did not arrive at your current exhaustion overnight. The overwhelm, the stress, the distance from yourself, those things built up over time. So healing and growth will also take time, and it begins with a daily choice. 30 minutes of honesty, 30 minutes of care, 30 minutes of deciding that your well-being is worth protecting, even if no one else sees it. Every day you choose those 30 minutes, you are sending a message to yourself, I am worth the effort. I am not waiting for the perfect time. I am not waiting to feel ready. I am starting with what I have and where I am. That message begins to rewrite your identity. You are no longer someone who avoids yourself. You become someone who shows up even when it is hard, even when it feels small. And that shift, showing up consistently, is the root of every long-term change you will ever make. It does not matter what you do in those 30 minutes. Some days you might journal, some days you might walk, some days you might pray or just stare at the sky. The point is not to be productive. The point is to be present, present with your thoughts, your body, your truth. Most people go through life avoiding themselves. They fill their hours so they do not have to feel. But when you carve out time for stillness, you begin to reconnect with what is real. You notice what hurts. You remember what matters. You hear your own voice again, underneath the noise. The beauty of daily practice is that it builds trust. Not with the world, but with yourself. Every time you follow through, every time you show up even a little bit, you remind yourself that you can be counted on. That inner trust is a foundation no one else can give you. And once you have it, you start making different choices. You stop tolerating what drains you. You start gravitating toward what heals you. That change did not happen in a single moment. It happened because you kept returning to yourself every day without needing applause or perfection. When people say they do not have time, what they often mean is they do not feel worthy of prioritizing themselves. They are used to being available for everyone else but absent for their own needs. 30 minutes is how you begin to reverse that. It is how you practice being there for you, not once a month, not when you hit a breaking point, but daily. Small choices, repeated, are what shape your identity. You do not need a miracle. You need a rhythm. Something steady, something yours, something that says, even on the worst days, I will not abandon myself. I will pause, I will return. I will give this time because I know who I want to become, and I know it starts here. 30 minutes is not a gap in your day. It is the bridge between who you are and who you are becoming. People often wait for motivation like it is some magical force that will knock on the door and drag them into action. They wait to feel ready, to feel inspired, to feel like doing something before they begin, and in that waiting, days pass. Then weeks, then months. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes based on your mood, your energy, your surroundings. If you depend on it, you will spend your life in cycles of bursts and crashes. That is why change does not come from motivation. It comes from consistency, from doing the thing even when you do not feel like it, especially then. When you decide to take 30 minutes every day for yourself, you are not waiting for the perfect mood. You are not asking yourself if you feel like it. You are doing it because it is who you want to become. Discipline is not about being harsh. It is about being loyal to your future. It is saying, even when I am tired, I will show up. Even when it is uncomfortable, I will keep going. That is how trust is built, not by grand plans or rare inspiration, but by showing up in small ways every single day. You will not always feel like sitting in silence. You will not always want to journal, stretch, pray, walk, or breathe deeply. There will be days when your mind resists it completely, days when you are irritable, overwhelmed, bored. But that is when the 30 minutes matter most, because on those days you are teaching yourself that you do not only care for yourself when it is easy. You care for yourself when it is necessary. When you act in alignment with your values instead of your feelings, something begins to shift inside. You stop being controlled by mood swings. You begin to move with intention. Most people never change because they are chasing feelings instead of creating systems. But the truth is, consistency creates the feelings you are chasing. If you want clarity, do the work even when you feel confused. If you want confidence, show up even when you feel insecure. If you want peace, sit with yourself even when your thoughts are noisy. It is not about feeling good in the moment. It is about becoming someone who feels good about who they are becoming. And that only happens through repetition, through daily effort, through 30 minutes of devotion to your own growth. There is something powerful in routine, not the kind that makes life dull, but the kind that makes you stronger. When you build a ritual around caring for yourself, when it becomes part of your day like brushing your teeth, you stop seeing it as optional. You stop debating whether you deserve it. You stop needing motivation because you have made it your norm. And when others see you honoring that time, they begin to respect it too. Because nothing teaches people how to treat you more than how you treat yourself. Consistency will not give you instant results, but it will give you momentum. It will carry you through the days when you feel lost and ground you when everything feels uncertain. It becomes the anchor that keeps you steady in a world that keeps shifting, and the best part is, you do not need to do it perfectly. You just need to keep returning. If you miss a day, come back the next. If you feel off, show up anyway. You are not building a streak, you are building a lifestyle, one that is rooted in care, not performance, one that is led by commitment, not emotion. That kind of life does not demand motivation. It creates its own strength, slowly and steadily, 30 minutes at a time. The world does not care if you are tired. It does not slow down because you are overwhelmed. It keeps moving, faster and louder, demanding more and offering less. Notifications do not stop. Deadlines do not wait. People keep asking. Life keeps pulling. And if you are not careful, you get swept into it. You start running at a pace that was never meant for you. You wake up exhausted, move through the day half present, go to sleep drained, and repeat. Eventually, you begin to think this is normal, that living like this is just the cost of being human. But it is not. Just because the world will not slow down does not mean you cannot. You have the right to step back. You have the right to reclaim your time, even if everyone else is running. Slowing down is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is knowing that peace does not come from chasing everything. It comes from choosing a few things and doing them with intention. And that begins with 30 minutes a day where you stop rushing, stop responding, stop performing, and just exist. When you take that time, even if the world keeps spinning, you step outside of its pressure. You stop measuring your worth by how busy you are. You stop chasing validation through productivity. You remember that you are a person, not a machine. And in those 30 minutes, your nervous system starts to breathe. Your thoughts begin to settle. Your body remembers how to relax. That stillness becomes a protest against everything that says you must earn your rest, earn your joy, earn your worth. You do not need permission to pause. You do not need a reason that others understand. You only need the awareness that your current speed is unsustainable. Burnout is not proof of dedication. It is a sign of neglecting yourself. You cannot give what you do not have. If your energy is always being drained, you will have nothing left for the things that truly matter. And the truth is, some of the most important things in life require slowness, reflection, listening. Being present, you miss them when you are always racing. Taking 30 minutes every day is not just about self-care. It is about self-respect. It is choosing not to abandon yourself in a world that constantly tells you to push through. It is looking around at the chaos and choosing stillness anyway. It is recognizing that nothing is worth losing your inner calm. And even if no one claps for your quiet time, even if no one sees the effort it takes to slow down when everything says go faster, you keep doing it. Because you know the cost of not doing it, you become reactive when you never rest. You become numb when you never stop. You forget who you are when you never check in. And one day you wake up, surrounded by noise, wondering why nothing feels meaningful anymore. But when you carve out those 30 minutes, you begin to hear yourself again. You reconnect with your thoughts, your emotions, your values. And that connection changes everything. It makes your choices clearer. It helps you say no to what drains you. It helps you say yes to what aligns with you. The world will keep rushing, but you do not have to. You can be grounded while others are scattered. You can be calm while others chase. You can create your own rhythm in the middle of the storm. And all of that begins with one simple decision. I will not lose myself in the speed. I will give myself time to breathe, to think, to just be. I will create stillness, not because the world allows it, but because I need it. Because I deserve it. Because I choose not to run through life and miss myself in the process. 30 minutes is enough to remember what really matters. It is enough to come back to yourself. It is enough to begin again. Imagine what would happen if you treated your peace the same way you treat your phone. You check your battery multiple times a day. You charge it before it dies. You panic when it is running low. You protect it with a case, update its software, keep it out of harm's way. But your peace, your mind, your inner calm, you let it drain. You ignore the signs. You let people and problems chip away at it like it costs nothing. You put everything else above it. You run on fumes and call it strength. But here is the truth. Your peace deserves the same care, maybe more, because it is not replaceable. You would not go days without charging your phone. So why go days without checking in with your soul? Why go weeks without giving yourself a moment of silence, a breath, a reset? That is what the 30 minutes are for. They are not just some self-help ritual. They are your emotional charger, your mental reboot, your way of saying, I matter enough to protect my energy before it burns out completely. You do not need a mental breakdown to finally take rest seriously. You need awareness, you need boundaries. And you need to treat your inner world like something precious. Peace is not something you find once and keep forever. It is something you maintain protect, return to, every single day. It is fragile in a loud world. It is sensitive to pressure, to comparison, to overstimulation. So when you do not make space for it, it fades quietly, and suddenly you are snappy for no reason. Exhausted even after sleep, anxious even in calm moments. That is not just life being hard. That is your peace waving a flag, asking to be noticed. And it does not take much, just 30 minutes where you put the world down and pick yourself up. People will drain you even if they love you. Work will drain you even if you enjoy it. Life will drain you even if you are grateful for it. That is why protecting your peace is not selfish. It is survival. You cannot keep pouring from a cup that has holes in it. And those holes are created when you say yes to everything, respond to everything, try to be everything. The 30 minutes are not just for silence. They are for repair, for plugging the leaks, for reminding yourself that your needs are not an afterthought. When you start honoring those minutes, you begin to change, not loudly, but in the way you respond, in the way you walk into rooms, in the way you stop explaining yourself. Peace changes your posture. It makes you softer without being weaker. It makes you kinder without being a doormat. It allows you to carry calm into spaces that need it. And people may not notice the time you spent creating it, but they will notice the energy you bring. That is the quiet power of protecting your peace. You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. If you never create time for yourself, they will fill it for you. If you never say, "I need space," they will assume you need nothing. And if you never take 30 minutes for your own balance, they will think you are fine always being available. But when you draw that line, gently but firmly, everything begins to shift. You stop being accessible to what drains you. You become available to what heals you. That shift does not come from a big announcement. It comes from a quiet, consistent commitment to yourself. You will be tempted to skip it. You will feel guilty for resting. You will think it is not productive. But peace is the most productive thing you can cultivate. It makes you think clearer, love deeper, live slower. And in a world that profits from your distraction, protecting your peace is a rebellious act. It is how you remember who you are beneath all the noise. It is how you stay rooted while everything else pulls. It is how you keep your soul charged and your heart awake. 30 minutes a day is not too much to ask. It is the least you deserve.